is Rebekah Ricks. I'm here with the Homeschool Connection, where our goal is to connect home and school, and I'm our weekly Facebook Live event, The Brew. And The Brew is a mixture of people, events, or things that come together to form a more potent whole. And we want to make your whole a whole lot better. So today we're going to take a few minutes really quickly and talk a little bit about about ADD and ADHD. And of course, as you can tell, I'm doing it from my car because, I feel like everyone needs a Facebook Live video from their car, because then I can be part of their cool kids. But ADD and ADHD, and I'm kind of really excited about talking about this because I've been doing a lot of studying on it and reading up a lot on it to kind of talk about it. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, and it's the most common childhood disorder. Apparently, there are 6.4 million diagnosed children in the United States. But this was sometimes also kind of confused with what was called ADD. And so in 2013, they decided that ADD was going to be outlawed. I won't say outlawed, but they decided that that was an outdated term, that we were going to no longer use it. So it was kind of used as a term to talk about someone who had trouble focusing but wasn't hyperactive. So now we just have ADHD, and there are three specific types of ADHD. There's inactive, hyperactive and impulsive, or combined. You can be a little bit. So an active is ADHD, but we used to really call that, use the term ADD for that. Shows that symptoms of inattention are easily distracted, but isn't hyperactive or impulsive. And then of course we have type 2, which is a hyperactive or impulsive. So, that would be someone who's super hyper, has very impulsive, just does whatever, but not necessarily inattentive. That's someone that will pay attention, but they're just kind of all over the place sometimes. And then you can have someone that is combined, symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity, kind of the best of both worlds mixed together. So let's talk about what is inattentiveness or inattention. How do I know if my child might be ADHD and have the inattentive type, or someone who has trouble focusing? So here's some question to ask you. Are they easily distracted? I'll raise my hand to that one. Are they forgetful? Even daily activities that you have to do all the time. Sometimes it would be someone who would have a really hard time with details, or make really careless mistakes, or trouble focusing on certain tasks or activities. Maybe sometimes that they might not even be able to zero in on a speaker when they're speaking. They're all over the place. They start something, then don't finish it, especially like in housework or schoolwork, when they start something and then they get distracted halfway through and they go do something else. Or like, I do this sometimes. You start reading a book or you start doing something and then something else pops into your mind and then you start that. And then something else pops into your mind and then you start that. And you're never quite finished one particular thing. Sometimes that does that. Sometimes they have a hard time following instructions. They wouldn't finish their schoolwork, or they wouldn't finish their chores or things like that. They're always getting distracted. And one big thing, and I don't know if this is necessarily an ADD thing or just a kid thing, but long periods of having to sit and focus on something they have a hard time doing. So they have a hard time just focusing on something, staying on task, staying with it, not being able to drift off into space. And I sometimes notice that a lot of times that'll happen. Kids that just they do have a hard time focusing. I call it daydreaming. They'll sit there and they'll write for a few minutes and then they're off in la la land. Then they come back down and focus again, and then a few sentences later, then they're thinking about something else, and they get easily distracted. They can get distracted by their own mind. They can't even, something, it could be the quietest classroom and they could get distracted by it. Another thing is someone who is hyperactive or impulsive. A hyperactive child might be someone who is always on the go, running around like crazy all the time. I don't want to say crazy all the time, but just has a lot of energy. Maybe they just talk all the time, excessive talking, won't stop, just continue to talk. Sometimes they have a hard time like waiting in line or waiting for their turn, and squirming in their seats and tapping their hands and their feet and fidgeting. moving around, wiggling all the time. Sometimes even someone that is hyperactive or impulsive has a hard time with, raising your hand and winning the answer because they're so excited that they know the answer, they just blurt it out. Or as they get old, when they're younger, sometimes if they haven't been taught, a lot of times they'll interrupt. Or sometimes they have a hard time just playing quietly with themselves. It can be many of those things. So that would kind of be a hyperactive. So we have our inattention, someone who has inattentive, which maybe wouldn't necessarily be a hyperactive. Then we have a child that could be hyperactive. They have an easy time following directions. They can do all of it, but they're just hyperactive, fidgety, always on the go, can't sit still. Those are two kinds. And then you can have someone who is really, really a combined one, which can be all together. So you can have hyperactive and someone who is distractibility. So in order to officially be diagnosed as ADHD, really the big thing is they have to display lots of different signs and symptoms before the age of 12. So really we kind of say, okay, before they turn 12, we notice these different things. We notice they have a hard time completing tasks or following directions. Really you want to make sure that they have this in more than one setting. So more than just school, such as school and home and friends and during church. Is it the same consistently, or is it just school? You know that it does. Does it interfere with their schoolwork and how they function at school or in social situations, or when they're at a friend's house? So not that it's just happening at school, but make sure it's happening across the board to several different things at it. And then a lot of times that kind of go with it too can be other conditions that can't be explained. Really moody or really nervous about things, high anxiety. Of course, we do have, it occurs too in adults many times, but you can also have the severity or the range of ADHD can range from very mild to very severe, depending on really on the environment and what the situation is. Sometimes it's really hard to say, okay, is it ADHD or is it behavior, or where's the line in between there? Sometimes though, I think that it'll flare up, or they'll show things when it's something they don't enjoy, but they have the ability to do it, but they just don't enjoy it. So is it really affecting their schoolwork, or is it something they just don't enjoy doing? Is it affecting school, or is it something they don't like to do? Sometimes you can really, really see, I think from what I've read, one of the big things to see how they are in an unstructured group situation with, where it's not super structured. Okay, are they still this way when they're doing something that they enjoy? Is this something they can't help to do, or is it something that they can? Is it something like that? Sometimes people say that it goes away with age, but I don't really think it does. I think that it's just something that as you grow older, you just kind of learn how to focus and learn that certain way, because there are all different ways that we learn how to learn and how to deal and how to do different things. So I don't really know if you can outgrow it. It's not something like that. So that's kind of where a difference is. So if you're thinking, okay, does my child have ADD or ADHD? I'm not really sure. Think, are they this way all the time? Okay. Is it when they just don't want to do something? Are they with that all the time? And think too, are we talking about individual? Are we talking about combined? Are we talking about hyperactivity? So there's lots of different things that you can do when you're thinking about it. So going forward, so what is the solution? What is the solution for ADD and ADHD? Well, there are lots of different things, and I think that's why it's really important for parents to kind of do research and study and say, okay, what's going to be the best fit for me, for my child, for my family. Because you can now, okay, we have lots of different medicines they can do that will help you focus and help you pay attention. And if you need that, if that's something that you decided, then go for it. Lots of natural things, different things people have tried. Lots of times I have found when you're working with children that have ADD or ADHD, explain to them, okay, so your mind is going to try to sometimes think of two different things at one time. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to pay attention on purpose. I need you to focus on purpose. I need you to make a conscious effort to pay attention to this. So I remember teaching one time, this was several years ago, and I was talking to my class about paying attention on purpose, and we were talking about when you're in church and someone gets up to sing and we don't really listen to them sing, you know, they're singing and we're, you know, whatever. And a little girl came up. So I guess here's the thing. When you see a list of symptoms for ADD and ADHD, remember that if you're trying to guess if your child has it, they have to meet a criteria of about six different things that they hit if they're going to be officially diagnosed by a doctor. Another thing is they have to do it across several different areas if it's affecting all walks of life: home, school, church, socially, when they're with their friends, everything. If it's affecting all different areas, is some way to do it. So hopefully this helps a little bit. It's a little bit of information, kind of clears up some of the misconception or the thoughts on ADD and ADHD. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll try to answer them. And if you enjoyed the video, give us a like or a share, and I will be back Friday morning. Hopefully y'all have a great evening.